Subscriber Peter Boone, 1877, asked, "Just read your wonderful book, Two Friends and a Polar Bear." Thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate that. You guys mentioned snow building wall techniques. You seem to build one every day. What determines your choice to build, construct, and the size? Initially, when we started, we always built a wall. By the end of the expedition, a couple times we didn't build the wall because we discovered our Garmin GPS had a good enough weather forecast that we could trust it. The Karen GT4 from Hilleberg can withstand almost 100 miles an hour, however we can. So we built a wall virtually every day knowing that the weather could be perfectly calm, beautiful, and clear, but the next morning it could be 40 and 50 miles an hour or 60 or 70 kilometers an hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the wall construction illustration on my whiteboard here and give you a good idea of the different dimensions, size, scale, and effort level of how to build this wall. I'm going to zoom in here just a bit. There we go. So initially what we've got is we've got a construction that we have to do, and we're going to do it where you really want the wall built first before you put up the tent, because it's really hard to put up a tent in the wind. So what we do is we dig a snow pit way upstream of the tent, maybe even this wide. And what is this wide? This is at least 12 feet wide. And then we would build and dig this pit, but we would make sure to have 2 feet or 60 centimeters of space before our wall construction. And this is important because as you build the rubble pile of your wall, it will start falling back into your snow pit where you're digging. Always dig the snow pit ahead of the wind. So if your wind's coming in this direction, always dig the snow pit here, and I'll explain why. Initially we constructed a rubble wall that was a good 10 feet or 300 centimeters wide, and then that would create a blockade for the tent. That worked very well because the tent is only about 5 feet wide or 150 centimeters, give or take. So we've got our Karen GT4 here. Okay. And between this, I didn't draw it to scale. You'll have to forgive me for doing this on the fly. But there is a good 6 feet or 180 centimeters from the edge of the wall to the tent. So 6 feet or 180 centimeters. That's right. Yeah, that's right. 180 centimeters, because the thing about this is you've got the vestibule on the tent, and then you've got the guy lines that go out, and you don't want the guy lines buried deep inside the wall, because in the morning this wall can be super hard to chisel out, and you don't want to have to do that, trust me. So having this here, this space, is good. Now you'd think, oh, I want to build the tent as close to the wall as possible. Two downsides with that. One, again, your guy line will be buried and you'll have to chisel that out every morning. And two, you need to be able to walk around the tent, and if you put this too close, you're going to be tripping on the guy line, tripping on the tent, damaging the tent, so you don't want to do that. So this 2 feet minimum, 60 centimeters, usually I even would go with 90 centimeters or 3 feet, just because it is very easy to have your wall fall into the pit. Now, as far as height and dimensions, I'm going to change the view here. All right. Now, looking end on into the wall, what you're going to do is you're going to begin digging your snow pit right here. And we started off with a rubble wall that is just literally junk of snow, as big a blocks as we could cut and lift, but we're not doing any wall construction yet. And usually we tried to build that about 45 centimeters or 1.5 feet tall. Now that doesn't sound like much, but the depth of this snow pile is 6 feet or 180 centimeters. And the reason for that is you want a good wide base, and we're looking again end on because our glorious tent will eventually be piled up here. And we did the rubble wall because that creates a good construction for the wind to strike and then begin pushing over. And then once we dug this snow pit, that actually worked very well as the space to cut blocks. And we cut those blocks and we made them as big as we could possibly make them for as long as we could make them, all the way across that wall. Now, if we knew the weather was going to be bad, we built a block wall and then we double blocked it. But then all you do is do staggered block sets here. And then begin, and ideally the tent would only appear maybe 1 foot or 30 centimeters above the wall. This is the ideal case. You really don't need to build it too much more than that unless you have a pit rack. We had a couple storms, it was literally raging. That was pretty rough. And so we actually built the wall so it was the exact same height as the tent, which is over 5 feet. And even though the tent isn't technically 5 feet, just the effect is 5 feet, or that is 150 centimeters tall. Yes, it's a lot of work. But the idea is the wind strikes this, it blows over. Now here's a very key important point about constructing this wall, is you need to fill the chinking in all of these holes. You do not want air to flow through this wall at all, because in extreme wind events, the wind will actually cut through the wall, begin tearing out these blocks, and if this bottom block tears out and your wall collapses, you're going to have a really big time. So what you want to do is just take shovelfuls of loose snow, throw them against the wall, and even though it's super dry, it will actually stick to the snow because it's so dry, it's very crystalline, and it starts to fill up. And you want to make sure there are no holes in your wall all the way up. So even though you've put a rubble pile, like Barney rubble, and then you've got all your blocks, and you don't have to use a snow saw. We just chopped them with the Voile Telepro shovel. Totally works. Don't sit out there sawing. You're gonna hate life. Just cube those bad boys, and don't pry with the shovel ever. That's a huge mistake. You'll break your shovel. Cut all the walls of the block, and then cut under and simply lift. If you pry at minus 40 degrees, your metal shovel will break. So you've got that. Now, how this works, all right, looks like I need to clean my whiteboard here, is you've got your snow pit here, you've got your rubble pile here, and you've got your block construction here. You've got 6 feet or 180 centimeters. Your wall is at least 6 foot thick or 180 centimeters. Your pit here could be 10 feet or 300 centimeters. Your wall is a good 10 feet wide or 300 centimeters. And then you've got your tent here. And what'll happen is the wind, this is the magic of this digging this pit over here, is the wind up high strikes the blocks directly, but the wind down here actually loses a little bit of speed because it's flowing along, and all of a sudden it ends up with a longer distance that it has to travel, and now it begins pushing upwards against the wind that is pushing here. So that actually forces these wind vectors to actually come around and start heading up. And then they curl over and then flow over the tent. So that actually works very well rather than just dragging and punishing and pummeling the tent. Now that you got that basic fluid dynamic theory, here, let me show you the final structure of the tent. So we've got the tent here. What we did is we built this wall about this big. So this is the wall here. Nothing's to scale. But we also put a block wall another 2 feet out. at about, oof, that's a terrible drawing, sorry. About 2 feet out at 45 degrees, give or take. And it's not exact, but whatever. You know, and then this is mostly rubble with a little bit of block on it, a little bit of rubble with block. And that would actually cause the wind to slipstream around. So now you've got a very comfortable spot to stand, and you're very happy. And Terry was standing there, very happy. He's got a smile on, even though I can't draw him. And it's very comfortable here in the morning with the wind raging. We could totally stand there, put our gloves on, and be fully protected in 40 and 50 mile an hour winds, or 50 and 60K winds, like raging. We just duck down a bit, and it's like there's no wind at all. We mess with our gloves, get our harnesses on. It totally works. So you can be in a blasting snowstorm and be completely comfortable here. And also, once we took our tent down, we of course leave our wall up, but then we could actually get on our skis and put on our poles and be very happy and head out in complete comfort where we're not getting blasted at all. So that wind not only protected us from the wall protected us from the wind in our tent, but also in the morning, we're not standing there freezing and raging. Now, I saw a bunch of expeditions where they never built walls. That means in the morning when they put their tents down, they're literally in the full blast of it, trying to mess with their gloves. And these were guided expeditions. Look, you know, you do what your guide tells you to do, but I'm telling you, when you're standing out there and the wind's 50 miles an hour and you've got to get your gear together and you drop your glove and it simply disappears and you get frostbite, your guide sucks. I'm just telling you right now, you got to have this wall, because then you stand in complete comfort and you don't start freezing, and it makes life so much better. We saw guided expeditions out in Greenland heading west to east who had to stop for days because the wind was 40 and 50 miles an hour. Terry and I, because we built the wall, every morning we could go ski out. Only during a Pitarack phase 2 wind event did we have to stop. Other than that, this wall and this effort made it possible so we could be prepared, ski out in 40 plus mile an hour, 55 or 60K winds, just like that. All because of this wall design with a pit up here that caused the wind to go around with a rubble and a block. That's how you do it. Thank you very much for watching. Also, please check out my book, The Motivated Amateur's Guide to Winter Camping, where I talk about all of this. Check out links below. Thank you very much for watching.